Imagine yourself standing at the border between inner and outer worlds where the intangible realms of thought and feeling meet the seeming solidity of what we call reality. From a traditional perspective, one might believe that we exist as separate, objective observers in a stable, concrete universe. Yet, from the lens of both Buddhist insight and the emerging field of quantum psychology, a subtler picture emerges, one in which the boundaries between observer, observed, and the act of observation are far more fluid, dynamic, and interdependent. In quantum physics, the line between matter and energy, between the particle and the wave, is not absolute but context-dependent. Similarly, in Buddhist thought, distinctions such as self and other, mind and world, are not inherent eternal truths but are conditioned, arising in response to perception and belief. Quantum psychology takes these parallels as potent metaphors, suggesting that the mind, like the quantum field, is not a fixed entity but a matrix of possibilities, a rich, probabilistic field of potentials waiting to be observed, interpreted, and realized. Within this model, our consciousness functions like the observer in a quantum experiment. We do not stand apart from our inner world or from the universe at large, passively registering what is out there. Instead, each thought, emotion, and intention we bring to the surface subtly influences the shape and quality of our inner landscape. The observer and the observed co-create each other, weaving a tapestry of meaning and perception out of the quantum foam of experience. Quantum particles can exist in a superposition, multiple potential states at once, until observed. Likewise, our psyche holds multiple potentials, the capacity for love and fear, compassion and judgment, wisdom and confusion, all superimposed in the fluid medium of our being. As human beings, we tend to collapse these possibilities into single narratives. I am kind, I am unworthy, this relationship is doomed, this relationship is divine, based on how we choose to direct our attention. The metaphoric lens of quantum psychology suggests that the act of observation, guided by intention, mindfulness, and compassion, collapses these psychic superpositions into the reality of our lived experience. In Buddhist practice, this corresponds to the cultivation of mindful awareness. We learn to observe thoughts and emotions without clinging, just as a quantum physicist observes phenomena with the least intrusive methods possible. By skillfully noticing mental states, anger, jealousy, love, empathy, without feeding or rejecting them, we allow our psyche's energy fields to remain in a balanced and open state. In this mindful openness, new and more harmonious collapses can occur. Compassion can stabilize where resentment once held sway. Understanding can emerge where confusion thrived. The field of our consciousness reorganizes around the intention for clarity and kindness. Quantum entanglement shows that particles separated by vast distances can be correlated in their states. Change one, and the other changes instantly, defying classical notions of locality. In a similar fashion, the psyche is entangled with its environment. From a Buddhist perspective, this is the principle of interdependence. No self stands isolated, no action occurs in a vacuum. Each choice, each expression of love or fear ripples through our collective mental fields. Our minds are not walled gardens, they are open systems that exchange energy and information with others. Quantum psychology encourages us to appreciate the subtle interplay of influences in our emotional lives. Just as entangled particles cannot be fully described in isolation, we cannot understand our own thoughts, feelings, and identity outside the network of relationships that shape us. When we act with kindness toward another, we shift the balance of shared mental states, just as a change in one entangled particle's spin influences its partner. In this sense, love can be seen as a form of constructive entanglement, aligning our mental states with others, forging bonds of trust, empathy, and mutual care that transcend the illusion of separateness. In quantum physics, the act of measuring or observing a system influences the system's behavior. In the domain of the psyche, this principle becomes a path of self-transformation. When we bring mindful attention to our inner states, we influence the quality of our thoughts and emotions. Observation is not neutral, it carries intention, attitude, and perspective. If we approach ourselves with harsh judgment, we reinforce negativity. If we approach ourselves with curiosity and compassion, we create a supportive environment where our positive potentials can flourish. From a Buddhist standpoint, this closely resembles the cultivation of skillful means. By learning to direct attention wisely, observing without judgment, caring without grasping, we shift our mental environment. Over time, this deliberate use of the observer effect leads to greater tranquility, insight, and ultimately, liberation from the mental patterns that keep us stuck in cycles of suffering. Quantum fields suggest that what we consider empty space is teeming with virtual particles, ceaselessly arising and dissolving. This can serve as a metaphor for the Buddhist concept of emptiness, sunyata, which is not mere nothingness but the absence of fixed, independent essence. Just as the quantum vacuum is a rich, dynamic foundation from which all phenomena emerge, emptiness in Buddhism is the fertile ground from which experiences arise, flourish, and return. In quantum psychology, we might say the psyche's ground state, its fundamental nature, is open, spacious, and brimming with possibilities. Rather than a void lacking meaning, emptiness provides the freedom for new patterns of thought and feeling to emerge. Recognizing this emptiness as the wellspring of creative potential frees us from the tyranny of rigid self-concepts. We become empowered to reshape our mental and emotional fields by embracing impermanence and interdependence. Bringing together Buddhist insight and quantum metaphors in the language of psychology grants us a unique vocabulary for transformation. Love, compassion, wisdom, and mindful presence are not static virtues we must manufacture. They are potential states ever present in the field of our consciousness. By understanding that we, as observers, actively shape our reality by how we pay attention, what we value, and how we engage, the cosmos of the mind reveals itself as infinitely malleable. In this light, the spiritual journey becomes the art of directing our internal observations wisely, lovingly, and without attachment. We learn to appreciate that we are both sculptors and sculptures, entangled participants in a ceaseless dance of becoming. Just as subatomic particles adjust their states in response to observation, our hearts and minds adapt to the quality of awareness we bring forth. Through the metaphorical lens of quantum psychology, Buddhist principles of emptiness, interdependence, and mindful observation resonate with the mysterious interplay of particles and waves at the quantum level. Our identities, relationships, and emotional lives become pliable fields of potential, continually shaped by how we choose to observe and engage. In this dynamic cosmos, we discover that liberation is not about forcing a fixed outcome, but about holding space for possibility. Love, compassion, and wisdom emerge naturally when we approach ourselves and others with attuned, caring awareness. We begin to see that what we call reality is a fluid tapestry we help to weave, and that by refining the lens of our attention, we continuously shape the unfolding quantum theater of the mind.